The ruins of a magnificent villa were discovered there on a ridge overlooking Jerusalem's old city. Now archaeologists from the Israel Antiquities Authority and Tel Aviv University have learned more about the Canaanite people that lived there by studying the remains found in the villa's toilet. And it seems that even the rich folks of ancient Jerusalem had some problems. Well, joining us is Dr. Daphne Langot, director of the TAU Laboratory of Archaeology and Ancient Near Eastern Cultures and lead author of the study involved here. And first of all, Daphne, I have to ask you, to be clear, we're not talking about ancient Israelites or Jews. These were the Canaanites. Is that right?
No, it's actually Judea, when the region was under the Assyrian rule.
Oh, so okay, so it was the biblical era of the biblical kings.
Exactly.
Okay, now just explain. You're examining the remains in that toilet, but what remains can there be from 2,700 years?
First of all, I would like to say that finding a toilet in an archaeological excavation is very rare, because at that time, only the rich could have afforded themselves to have such a facility. And I have studied basically the cesspits, the sediments which below the toilet sit. And I collected samples, and then back at the lab, I extracted organic material from these cesspit sediments. And then I looked at the microscope, and I was very, very surprised to see hundreds of parasite eggs. And basically, from those eggs, they represent worms which existed in the body of, in the intentional organs of these rich people who lived in this beautiful residence at the time.
Let me ask you about that, because, you know, we like to assume that even the ancient Israelites kept kosher and were stricter about what they ate, especially we're talking about people who were in the upper class there in this sort of villa, but clearly that was not necessarily the case.
Exactly. I assume that they were not aware to hygiene and to wash hands before eating, and maybe they didn't eat meat which was cooked properly, or maybe they used in their fields, in the agricultural fields, fertilizer, which included those worms and so on, and therefore they suffered from these diseases, and it was infected diseases at the time because it was difficult to observe and there were no medicine, so it's kind of epidemic at that time.
Right. As I said, I live near this area, and this villa has a magnificent view of the old city and of the Temple Mount. Is that why you would find such a, like this, for example, beautiful home in that part of Jerusalem, perhaps?
Yes, I assume so, because there are these magnificent views. On one side, you can see the Temple Mount, and when you look back, you can see all the Judean desert, including Herodium, for example, and this is a very impressive location. I also managed to identify the remains of fossil pollen grains that were trapped in this cesspit, and this tells us about a beautiful garden that exists near this toilet.
Well, I can tell you that Jerusalem real estate hasn't changed that much in 2,700 years, but it does seem at least personal hygiene and maybe some eating habits have. Dr. Daphne Langot, thanks for joining us on The Rundown.